Hey everyone, it's me, Andrea from Andy's Corner, and I'm so glad to tell you today's episode. It is really encouraging, and I'll tell you why. But let's get started first. So, last episode was so encouraging too, that knowing that God has a plan and He is a provider for Abraham, for us, with the ultimate sacrifice of His son Jesus. And this episode is really cool too. So let's get started. Genesis 23. Here we go. When Sarah was 127 years old, she died at Kiriath Arba, now called Hebron, in the land of Canaan. There Abraham mourned and wept for her. Then, leaving her body, he said to the Hittite elders, "Here I am, a stranger and a foreigner among you. Please sell me a piece of land so I can give my wife a proper burial." The Hittites replied to Abraham, "Listen, my lord, you are an honored prince among us. Choose the finest of our tombs and bury her there. No one here will refuse to help you in this way." Then Abraham bowed low before the Hittites and said, "Since you are willing to help me in this way, be so kind as to ask Ephron, son of Zohar, to let me buy his cave at Machpelah, down at the end of his field. I will pay the full price in the presence of witnesses, so I will have a permanent burial place for my family." Ephron was sitting there among the elders, and he answered Abram as the others listened. Speaking publicly before all the Hittite elders of the town, "No, my lord," he said to Abraham, "please listen to me. I will give you the field and the cave here in the presence of my people. I give it to you. Go and bury your dead." Abraham again bowed low before the citizens of the land, and he replied to Ephron, as everyone listened, "No, listen to me. I will buy it from you. Let me pay full price for the field, so I can bury my dead there." Ephron answered Abraham, "My lord, please listen to me. The land is worth 400 pieces of silver. But what is that between friends? Go ahead and bury your dead." So Abraham agreed to Ephron's price and paid the amount he had suggested, 400 pieces of silver, weighed according to the market standard. The Hittite elders witnessed the transaction. So Abraham bought the plot of land belonging to Ephron at Machpelah near Mamre. This has included the field itself, the cave that was in it, and all the surrounding trees. It was transferred to Abraham as his permanent possession in the presence of the Hittite elders at the city gate. Then Abraham buried his wife Sarah there in Canaan, in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, also known as Hebron. So the field and the cave were transferred from the Hittites to Abraham for use as a permanent burial place. The end. Now, you might be thinking, what's so important about that? His wife died and he bought a cave. But the crazy thing is remember, God promised Abraham that his descendants would be living in the land of Canaan. Okay, but he also promised him that he would have as many descendants as the sand on the seashore. And here's the thing. So Abraham lives here, Sarah lives here, they died, he bought this cave. Yes, great. But then years go by and he has Isaac. Isaac gets married and has kids. That person gets married and has more kids, and they start multiplying them, all these kids. They eventually end up in Egypt as slaves. And that is one of my favorite stories, all that whole story. And then God delivers them from slavery, brings them out of Egypt and back to this exact land. And he gives them Canaan. And that is their promised land. So even though Abraham doesn't own anything there, remember he's there as a stranger, he has now purchased one piece of land that is his permanently. That in the future, hundreds of years later, all of his descendants will then be living in that land and owning that land. That's just crazy. He ended up purchasing a piece of land that would be from his future enemies. What? Well, currently they are not Abraham's enemies, but they will be his descendants' enemies when the Israelites come to take over that land. So that is so crazy. Imagine Abraham doesn't own anything, but then him and his wife, his son and his son's wife, his grandson and his wife are all buried in a little place that will eventually be owned by his descendants. That is beautiful. And how amazing is God's plan? I mean, he could have been buried anywhere. He could have been buried. I mean, remember, he went everywhere. But no, he was buried there. And hundreds of years later, his descendants would come back and live among Abraham's, basically, his funeral site, his cemetery, would you say? So, how does this encourage you today? You're like, Andrea, how can the death of Sarah encourage me? I think to me, it's amazing how God knows and sees the future. He can see 400 years from now. He can see 1,000 years from now. He can see 2,000 years from now. And he has a plan. Sarah only lived 127 years, but about all of her descendants were in Egypt for over 400 years, and then they came back to live among Sarah's burial site. That is amazing. Little did she know that she would be buried beside her living descendants. Well, clearly she didn't know that because she died. But that just goes to show you that God has a plan and his plan is perfect. So, friends, if you're stressed about your future, if you're like trying to figure out your tomorrow, just give it to God. He already knows the future. He already knows the future you and what you're going to accomplish and what you're going to do. So just surrender your day to him now so that he can do with it what he will and you get the best option for your life. I don't know if that makes sense, but either we can offer our day to God every single day, offer our heart to God every single day. And Lord, we say, we want your best for us. Or we can ignore God and be disobedient. And obviously, our life will not turn out the best for what God has for us. It might be subpar because we are not being obedient to Him. But when we are obedient to him and we are sensitive to his word and his voice and his guiding every single day, I'm sure we will get God's best because that's what he desires for his children, which it says in the Bible later. So friends, don't be worried about tomorrow. And later on in the Bible, there's another verse that says, don't worry about tomorrow. It's so exciting and encouraging that all you have to do is focus on today and surrender your heart to the Lord today and follow his voice and his guiding and trust that everything will turn out right. Okay? So be encouraged today, and I hope that that gives you strength to just do the things that he's called you to do today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about a week from now, 20 years from now, 25 years from now. Just focus on today and be obedient today and be sensitive to his voice today. Okay? And I hope that you have the rest of a good day today. All right. Bye.